Hi everyone and welcome back to Helen's Honest Baking. Today we continue our hunt for the world's best choc chip cookie recipe, testing out Yossi Arafi's version from the celebrated cookbook Snacking Bakes. Now her recipe calls for brown butter, a portion of whole wheat flour, and flaky sea salt, so I'm really interested to see how that impacts the end result. First thing we need to do is go make that brown butter. So I've got my 113 grams of cold unsalted butter in a small saucepan. Let's head over to the stovetop. We melt it over a medium heat and just keep going until the milk solids are browned. Don't forget to keep stirring. We want it brown, not black. And this took me about 3 minutes, the same as Yossi. In a large bowl, we add in 2 more tablespoons of butter, which is about 29 grams if you want to whip out that digital scale, and we allow it to melt in as we whisk, which is kind of soothing. Now what's cool about this recipe is that the whole dough will come together in this one bowl using muscle and love rather than our stand mixer. So we whisk in 2 sugars this time, 125 grams of brown sugar and 100 grams of granulated sugar. I wasn't sure how granulated to go with my sugar, so I guess that a coarse cane sugar would do the trick, and I'm happy to experiment with that to figure out what works best. After some super speed, ta-da! We have 1 egg to crack and whisk in, and away we whisk. Next goes in the traditional vanilla extract, 1.5 teaspoons this time. I'm always restraining myself with these recipes instead of dunking in a full tablespoon. Next with a 3/4 teaspoon of fine sea salt. I only had coarse sea salt on hand, so I had to grind it ahead of time, feeling totally unprepared. Next, for leaveners, we have 1/2 teaspoon each of baking powder and baking soda. The mix is looking pretty glossy by this point. Next, for flours, we have 142 grams of all-purpose and 65 grams of whole wheat. Here I had a brain fart and started whisking again, but instead, we actually need to fold it in, and here I've done that in 2 batches. I'm just a home baker, so my folding technique is probably pretty lousy, but it gets the job done. The mix will start to stiffen up, reminding you of how weak your arms get when you use a mixer all the time. We have dough, people! It's looking much more glossy in this recipe and well balanced, so I'm happy. It's chippy time. I've got 90 grams of chopped semi-sweet chocolate that I'm stirring in here. I don't normally chop bars of cooking chocolate, instead copping out for the pre-formed chips, but I'm quite impressed with how it's giving a more rustic look, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the larger hunks melt up in the oven. Et voila! A nice glossy pat of dough. It's almost a shame to break it up. Here's my hot pan to make the cookie undersides nice and crispy. And as usual, please be cautious and don't burn yourself, like me. I'm using a medium cookie scoop with all of these recipes to help the comparison, but feel free to go larger or smaller, adjusting the baking time to compensate. We boil out our dough at super speed. One thing I particularly like about this recipe is that it calls for pre-decorating, which is a great idea, Yossi. I'm pressing into each top extra choc chunks and a smattering of flaky sea salt, aka the big stuff. This makes me so happy because I'm an absolute sucker for that sweet and salty flavor mix, so I can already tell I'm going to love these cookies. All ready? And off we go with these bad boys to the oven for around 10 minutes, depending on your oven, of course. Movie magic ensues, and here is the end result. They look gorgeous and very much like the example picture, so we can chalk up another baking win here. Let's put them to cool on our rack. The cross-section is great, with gooey chocolate and a well-formed mix. In terms of appearance, I'm giving them a 4.5. The height and spread is perfect. The color is great. We have a good distribution of chocolate, and the salt and extra chocolate on top make them pretty and enticing. In terms of taste, these cookies deliver. The sweet and salt mix doesn't disappoint, and the whole wheat flour amps up the complexity, so it's not just firing on all sweet cylinders. It's not a perfect score because I would use less whole wheat next time and less sugar yet again, but it's really close. Texture is also a 4, with the brown sugar really contributing here. Ease of the recipe was a real tough one, and honestly, I think I went the wrong way here. While I was a little lost over granulated sugar and levels of sea salt, in general we didn't need any hard-to-find ingredients, measurements were in grams and cups, and the instructions were reasonably easy to follow. You see my conflict here is pretty real. The grand total is... Pause for unreasonably slow mental calculations. 16.5. So this was my review of Yossi Arefi's new favorite chocolate chip cookies from her best-selling cookbook, Snacking Bakes. It's a real contender for the best chocolate chip cookie ever in our hunt. You can find this on Amazon or where all good books are sold, including her other book, Snacking Cakes. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe and let me know your thoughts on the book or how you went with this one. Until next time, bakers, bye!
Chocolate chip.
What?